So, I finally reached 25,000 Anki cards, aka 25,000 Japanese words, which is a 5,000 word increase compared to where I was last year, and it also means that I have exactly 5,000 words to go until I hit 30,000 words, which is the finish line goal that I set for myself at the start of this year. However, I think I'm actually going to stop adding new cards to Anki now at 25,000 instead. To explain the reason why, I first have to explain why I'm still doing Anki in the first place. So, back in 2023, when I hit 20,000 cards, I actually stopped adding new cards for a while as well, but I had this lingering feeling as if I had stopped a little too early, especially because I still had some very low-hanging fruit that I could easily grab to improve my Japanese, such as mining actual books which I had never done before, so eventually I started making cards again. I announced that I was going for 30,000 words at the start of this year, meaning that I needed to mine around another 10,000, which was a goal that was intentionally overkill for the sake of reaching a point where I truly feel like I've learned more than enough so I could bring this journey to a climatic conclusion. But now, 5,000 words into the challenge, I feel like my Japanese has already improved so much that I've already gained what before I felt like I was missing out on. Now, despite this discovery, I was still planning on finishing what I started, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that continuing to grind Anki might actually not be the best idea. So there are multiple reasons why mining beyond 25,000 just doesn't make sense for me anymore. To start with a practical one, at my current level, finding 30 new words every single day is becoming increasingly, well, impractical. Essentially, if I want to get my daily goal done in a reasonable amount of time, say in around 1 to 2 hours, I am forced to consume content that specifically fulfills that need. For example, recently I've been reading Wagahai wa Neko de aru, which is a book written in 1906, so it uses a lot of archaic words and kanji, and I deliberately make sure that I'm using a version that isn't completely modernized, and I also strip away all the furigana, so I'd only rely on my kanji knowledge for comprehending the book. And despite taking such extra measures, I actually understand most of the expressions I mine just from the kanji and context. But if I become really picky with what I mine, I'm just never going to make 30 new cards in a single day. But at the same time, I do mine a lot of very obscure vocabulary that quote-unquote might not be worth mining. And the reason this is a problem at all is because I have a very limited time budget for learning Japanese, which means that if I have such a daily goal, I have no choice but to only mine and immerse with such content, which is unfortunate because, for example, recently I found a YouTube channel that I kind of enjoy, but I cannot justify spending time on watching it because I know that I won't find enough words for my daily goal, which, when you think about, is kind of backwards. Now, don't get me wrong in the sense that I am enjoying the book with the cat, and I actually do need to do many lookups to fully understand it, meaning that it's not super easy for me, and I do benefit from mining it and then reviewing what I mined using Anki. However, and this is important, unlike last year, I feel like I've reached a point where instead of spending so much time on strengthening my existing as well as new knowledge using Anki, I'd rather just spend more time on actually reading the book, even if it means that I have to do more lookups in the future because many of the new words I'll encounter will just go in from one ear and out the other. Essentially, thanks to having mined an additional 5,000 words, mostly from books, I feel like my Japanese has improved to the extent that now I find it easier to enjoy even more difficult content, which psychologically means that I don't find enough value in actively increasing my vocabulary anymore to justify spending so much time on Anki that it takes away from time that I'd otherwise spend on reading or watching content that can potentially have a much higher impact on my life than reviewing flashcards will. To put it simply, using Anki to learn another 5,000 words is no longer aligned with my goals. Now, don't get me wrong, Anki 100% works, it's effective and time efficient. However, it is inherently a means to an end, and the end no longer justifies the means for me. This is also why I don't want to do, let's say, only 10 new cards a day either, because at such a pace, I'd have to do Anki for at least another 800 to 900 days, and even if I would find it manageable, I'd rather just stop at 25,000 and put my time into something that isn't reviewing flashcards. Because keep in mind that having a daily sentence mining and Anki goal is also a responsibility that binds you to a specific type of lifestyle which enables it. And to be completely honest, there is an ulterior motive I have as well, which is that I want to go outside and actually enjoy the summer this year, as well as put some time into a certain series instead of sitting inside doing Anki and making flashcards all day. Anyway, moving forward, I'm not going to be adding new cards to Anki anymore, as I've decided to stop at 25,000 instead of making rather big sacrifices in my life for some arbitrary numbers such as 30,000. I feel like language learning as a hobby isn't something you should sacrifice other aspects of your life for, because at the end of the day, language is a tool for communication. Don't confuse the means for the end. And actually, for the last 300 cards, I did something interesting. I wanted the final cards to contain information that's actually worth learning, so I generated as well as took some pre-made cards that contain, for example, the names and locations of all the prefectures, important city names, most common Japanese female, male, and surnames, wards of Tokyo, and so on. So, even though I'm still going to be doing reviews for the cards that I already have for quite a while, consider this video my announcement that this time, I've truly graduated from making Anki cards, and honestly, now that I've made this decision, I am much more excited than I was before to keep on exploring what this language has to offer, so I'll see you in the future.
All the tests came back negative, so I don't know what